Hello and welcome to Working with What You Got. I'm your host, Renee Joshua Porter, and I am so happy that you decided to join us today. Remember, our program is all about you realizing you have more time, you have more talent, you have more resources, you have more people on your side, and it is time to unknot your mind. Well, we're going to start every show like we do all the time. And what are we going to do? We are going to cook. You're saying, what are we doing? What are we cooking with? Well, today we're going to make ourselves a soup because, baby, it's been cold outside. Well, today was a little warmer, but in the past it's been pretty cold. Well, I have some really great working with what you got friends. And one of my dear friends named Carol, she makes a mean chowder. And Carol was kind enough to tell us one of her secret ingredients. Of course, she couldn't tell us everything, but she told us a little something. Guess what Carol said? Carol said that what she uses as the base for her wonderful seafood chowder is none other than instant mashed potatoes. Instant mashed potatoes and stock. She uses chicken stock, but today I'm going to use a vegetable stock. So, what we're going to do, I'm going to show you how we can do a vegetable corn chowder, and then we're going to put some seafood in there and turn that bad boy into a seafood bisque. Are you ready? Well, what we have in the pot so far is we started off with some milk. Now, you can use dairy if you like. I don't do dairy. I do coconut milk or I do almond milk because I'm lactose intolerant. And I also feel that dairy builds up a lot of mucus in the body. So I don't do dairy. So we have the coconut milk and I've been having it on a low boil. So we have our coconut milk. We put that in there. And then I'm going to put in some vegetable stock. We have that vegetable stock in there with the coconut milk. And then I'm going to add the instant mashed potatoes. And we're going to whisk it around. We have our pot on medium high. And we want to get that the right consistency. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit so you can kind of see what's going on in here. It kind of looks like watery mashed potatoes. So we're going to go ahead and put some more stock in there. And I just used a vegetable stock. I try to stay away from canned things because once it's on the can, or once it's in the can, we know it's on the shelf and there's a whole lot more process that goes into it to keep that shelf life. So we like to go with something that's been packaged either frozen or fresh, or you can just make your own vegetable stock. How about that? All right. So you can see that? Isn't that beautiful? So now what are we going to put in that corn chowder? Remember, every week you're going to hear me say you have to eat the rainbow. So what did I do? I decided to cut up some sweet potatoes, and we just steam them for a little bit because half of the time we cook our vegetables way too long. Put in some sweet potatoes. I'm going to put in some fresh corn. And then we put in some cream corn. I'm going to throw in celery and a couple carrots. And now, one of my favorite things on the planet, baby spinach. We're going to season it with some salt and pepper. Salt. I use black pepper. White pepper would have really given it a little extra kick, but we didn't have white pepper, so we just worked with what we got. That is looking absolutely lovely. But guess what? We need more seasoning. Guess what seasoning we like to use in our corn chowder? None other than Bell seasoning. Do you recognize this? What do you use Bell seasoning for? Turkey on Thanksgiving. Well, no, you can also use it in your chowder. So we're going to use a little bit of Bell seasoning because all Bell seasoning is thyme and rosemary and sage and all the aromatic herbs. Look at that. It smells heavenly. I have a little garlic here just because I love garlic. Let me use a little garlic. This is smelling so delicious. And look, I want you to see how we've used that instant mashed potatoes and that stock, and it's not getting thick and solid and paste-like. It's still lovely and lucid like a good chowder. We need a little bit more salt. And because our lovely Victoria is a vegan, she can try this today. Look at that. We have so many colors represented in here. We have sweet potatoes, we have carrots, we have baby spinach, we have corn. Let's try it. Let me see what we got. I have to try it first. Guess what? I don't know if we have any spoons out here. So I'm going to use a breadstick. OMG. This is delicious. I'm eating it with a rosemary breadstick. I'm telling you, this is magnificent. Only thing I'm going to do, put a little bit more salt. And like I said, I always use sea salt. Put a little bit more pepper because it needs a little seasoning. It smells delicious. It looks delicious. And I'm going to put a little bit more of my Bell in there. All right. Look at that. We used our instant mashed potatoes. We used our vegetable stock. We used a little garlic. We used cream corn. We used fresh corn. When I say fresh corn, I mean corn in a can. We use carrots. We use baby spinach. It's delicious. Delicious. All right, are we ready? I think we might be scrambling for a spoon right about now. Remember, this is live on the web, babe. So, Victoria, are you ready to improvise? Does she have a spoon? What do you have? Come on, Victoria, come on, come on. You gonna use a fork? You got a spoon? Okay. All right.
One for you.
Thank you. Okay, try it. Tell me what you think.
Oh, that's really good.
It's good, right?
Oh, that's yummy.
She loves it. Now, what I'm going to show you is, you see how Victoria just devoured it?
Nice and creamy.
She devoured it. What we're going to do
Very
now
nice.
is we're going to take,
Thank you.
you're welcome, you're welcome. We're going to take imitation crab meat and some shrimp, put in there, because now we're going to turn it into a wonderful seafood chowder. But guess what? I had a secret ingredient I wanted to share with you today. A lot of times when we're doing our chowder, we eat with our eyes as people. We expect it to look a certain way, a certain color, a certain blush, right? Well, I have my secret ingredients. It's called in Spanish achiote, or in English, it's annatto. And it's a seed that's ground, and it's a natural colorant. We put that in there. And I want you to see how it's going to give it a beautiful pink color. Oh, look at that. And it doesn't change the flavor. Put a little bit more annatto in there. And we're going to put a little Old Bay. Ooh. All we did was add annatto, seafood, and Old Bay. And now we turn this in to a wonderful seafood chowder. Can you see that? Is this beautiful or what? Delicious. All right, I need another sampler. Someone has to sample that. I can eat it by myself, but it would be nice if somebody sampled it for me. All right, who's coming? Tommy. Tommy.
Oh,
All right. Now Tommy just had lunch, so
no,
he doesn't have room.
this is it.
Yeah.
Very good.
Is it too hot? Is it too
No,
spicy?
No, and
And
I'm not a real big spice person.
Yeah.
This is easy.
Yeah, and it's not overpowering.
Mm-mm.
You digging it?
I'm digging it.
You're digging it.
I definitely am.
Tommy is digging it. Okay, so we went from
I'm digging it.
we went from a simple vegetable corn chowder to a wonderful seafood bisque. Thanks to Carol Brown. And we'll be right back after this commercial. We have a wonderful show set up for you. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to Working with What You Got. I'm your host, Renee Joshua Porter, and I am so excited because today I have friends on the show, and I am so blessed to have a dear, dear, dear lady by the name of Shauna Williams Harvey, all the way from Snellville, Georgia. She's a sweet Georgia peach, and she is the president and owner of Reach Child Care Facility, and it's located in Decatur, Georgia, and it's for children with exceptionalities. I love that term that Shauna has coined. And Shauna, welcome. Say hello to
Thank
our
you.
audience.
Glad to be here.
Now, tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure, I am a wife, a mother, a friend, but most importantly, for the purposes of this show, I am a business owner of, like you said, Reach Enrichment Center, located here in Decatur, Georgia. I have 3 children ranging from the ages of 2 through 26. And I am ready to get started with this interview.
Okay. So, first off, tell us about your journey, Shauna. Tell us about your journey, the journey that brought you to Reach.
It was an interesting one. So I actually got married in 2008 after waiting many, many years to be married. And that marriage actually brought forth a wonderful child who we dearly call John John. But John John was born with the diagnosis of trisomy 21, which is also known to many people as Down syndrome. It was a very unexpected diagnosis and something that we had to, if you will, recondition our minds for. We were very excited about the birth of our son, but we were concerned about the diagnosis because we weren't sure what to expect. In the time frame that I had him, I was actually laid off from work. And so that was good for me being able to be home with him, to be able to care for him, and to be able to provide him the services that he needed. But the thought came to me one day, what happens when I do return back to work? I was very concerned about the level of care that he would receive
Okay.
because he did have some special needs. In addition to being born with trisomy 21, he was born with a heart condition where he had to have open heart surgery. And I really was very concerned about who was going to be able to provide care for him the way I would.
Now, let me
And
ask
my
you something, Shauna.
Sure.
What age was he when he had the open heart surgery?
He had open heart surgery at 6 months old. He was born at 3 pounds and 4 ounces, and they wanted to wait until he got to 12 pounds just because of the size of the heart and the detail involved in actually executing the surgery. But he didn't get to 12 pounds. They actually went ahead with the surgery at 10 pounds when he was 6 months.
Wow, that's a lot, Shauna.
It was.
That's a
But
lot.
he came through with flying covers, and um, his activity and his ability to thrive increased so much after the surgery. So it was the surgery that was the thing that took him over to the place that he is now developing and growing nicely.
Okay, so let me ask you something. Here you
Sure.
are, you've waited a while, you've gotten married, you're excited about having this baby, you conditioned your mind to be pregnant again, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a big gap between, having a 2-year-old and a 26-year-old. Well, not
Right.
26, but even the 20-year-old. There's a big gap. So now at that point, you have the baby and you find out that the baby is special needs. What are you feeling?
I think I felt every emotion possible. I did not feel angry though. When I look back over the situation, anger was not one of the emotions I felt. I felt scared. I felt confused because I believed that my marriage was a blessing, a promise, a fulfilled promise. And this baby was a fulfilled promise. And yet, in all of the excitement of that, we find out that he had a diagnosis of trisomy 21.
Okay.
And so I was scared. You know, you read a lot of literature about children with trisomy 21, and there's not always great, encouraging information out there. And so you have to find your way through this maze. You have to navigate your way to find people who have success stories so that you can glean a little bit of encouragement that if you do certain things, that the outcome can still be very successful and very rewarding.
Now, let me ask you something. Do you feel like in this journey you developed your own language? Has that helped you?
When you say my own language, what do you mean?
When you say trisomy 21, is that what you use? That's the term that you use? Is
Yes.
Do you choose to say that rather than saying Down syndrome or is it something different?
It is the same exact thing. It was founded by a man whose last name was Down, and that's why they call it Down syndrome. But the clinical definition or the clinically defined name is trisomy 21.
Okay.
And it varies. Some people are apprehensive to the word trisomy 21. Some are to Down syndrome. I say either. It depends on the day.
Okay, so now tell me the moment. Tell me the pivotal moment when you realize, okay, there's something that's birthed in me that needs to come out. When did you get to that point? Tell me what happened.
So it was exactly at that time. That's a really good question. So it was at that moment that I was having this conversation with myself and my husband. What were we going to do with John John? Where were we going to provide care for him? And it was at that moment that I realized that my heart was not only bleeding for myself, but for every other parent with a child with special needs. And so I felt like there needed to be a place, a safe haven, a place where parents could bring their children to a place where the owners and the caregivers in that area could identify with their experience, for lack of a better word, and to be able to be a source of encouragement to help them navigate their way through. So that is at that point that we said childcare. And so I don't really have, from an academic background, any childcare experience in working with children with special needs, but my husband has his master's and he works with children with special needs. So he was already positioned to do that type of work. And so from a program administration standpoint, I was able to step in. We were able to move forward with the vision of opening a center for children with special needs and employing people that have our passion and understand our heartbeat to provide quality and affordable care for parents of children with special needs.
That is absolutely awesome. So you had already been being prepared, not even knowing what you were being prepared for.
Absolutely. And when I look back, when we both look back, when our whole family looks back, we realize that we were being prepared and not even knowing it. My daughter, who I mentioned, she's 21 now. She actually, throughout her high school, was a volunteer for children with autism. And so, a large population of our students have a diagnosis of autism somewhere on the spectrum. And it was just purpose by design. Our son, who is 26, who works at the center as a caregiver, has a gift to really connect with these children. We have children that have come to the center who weren't speaking, who are speaking now, who have some form of language and communication. And it just comes from the love and the care that we offer at Reach Enrichment Center.
That is awesome testimony. Now tell our audiences, what are some of the lessons that you learned along the way, Shauna?
There's been so many, but if I had to bring it to just something to really sum up, this is not about me. It's never been about me. My steps have been ordered to this place because there's something inside of me, whether I knew it or had to discover it along the journey, that will help me make a difference in somebody else's life. And so if I take the focus off of me and try to discover what that is, then I will actually accomplish the goal of helping somebody else.
Okay, that's a beautiful, beautiful statement. Now, I'm just going to play a different angle now. That was beautiful, and it was poetic, and it was just so altruistic, and I know that you're sincere in that.
I really am.
I know you are. So now I'm gonna use another, because you're my girl. So I'm gonna say, okay, what about the person that says, you know what, I'm trying to take the focus off of me, but I'm still the primary caregiver, and this is still unexpected. How do you shift focus off of yourself in the midst of something that feels like you're the one carrying the brunt of the weight?
It takes time, Renee, in all honesty. That's an excellent question. When we first got the diagnosis, it was the day after we had a huge celebratory reveal party. We had over 40 people here at our home, and we announced that the sex of the baby was going to be a boy. We were very excited. And the very next day, coming out of that level of excitement, to hear a diagnosis of Down syndrome was very difficult. And in all honesty, it was at that point, my husband and myself, we shut down. We didn't talk. We had to find a place within ourselves to gain the perspective that we needed. And so that took time. It literally took a couple of weeks. Not that we talked to each other, but it took a couple of weeks for us to totally wrap our mind around what was actually happening. And to say, okay, so this is the hand that we've been dealt. And we're big spades players. We can win a match whether we have spades or not. So this is the hand that we've been dealt. How can we still earn some books? And so that...
Hold on one moment. That's awesome. Stay right there. We're going to take a commercial, and then we're going to come back to hear the rest of what you have to share with us, okay? We'll be right back after. Hello, and we're back. Just wanted to remind you that our lines are open throughout the duration of our show, and we welcome the calls coming in. I've been blessed to have a wonderful guest with me, one of my dear friends, Shauna Williams Harvey. She is the president of Reach Enrichment Center. It's a child care facility for children with exceptionalities. And Shauna was just sharing some of her wonderful golden nuggets about this journey that she's had with her wonderful son, John John. Right before our break, you were saying about tell us about the journey. Just kind of recap for us, Shauna.
So in the journey, and I said it in a way that you questioned, just from a real talk standpoint, and honestly, the journey is what you make it. If you spend a lot of time focusing on why is this happening, instead of this is happening and what can I do to take this to the next level? What can I do to make this a better situation? What can I do where this will not benefit only myself, my son, and others? Then you've missed the whole purpose of the journey, because the journey is not about you. The journey for me is about me understanding children with exceptionality, creating a place, a safe haven for parents to come, not only to bring their children for childcare, but on Saturday, the first Saturday of every month, we offer free informational seminars for parents in the entire special needs community, whether their child is a student at Reach Enrichment Center or not. We have experts come in from special needs environments, and they come in to speak with parents with regards to all type of special need topics.
Excellent. Okay, so what would you say would be one of the biggest lessons or challenges that you faced during, the startup with this business?
So as I mentioned when we first started, I actually was laid off at the time when this birthing took place. So we took all of our finances, all of our savings, and dumped it into this business. And the business initially didn't take off the way we wanted to, so we had some lag time, which is something that you would experience as any first-time business owner. In the first year can be the most challenging. But we continue to be challenged in the area of finances. And the reason that is because to provide the services necessary for the children with special needs, you have to pay more for your staff. This is not a minimum wage job where you can just bring someone in and expect them to work with a level of passion. And not that money is the driver, but money does speak the language of excellence sometimes. And so we have done fundraisers from a bowling tournament to this year. They're doing Miracles on the Runway, which is a fashion show with children with special needs to raise money for children with special needs.
I love it.
We always have opportunities. We welcome anyone who would like to make a contribution to Reach Enrichment Center. The funds go directly to the program. Last summer, we were able to take the money from the bowling tournament and have a scholarship fund available for parents who couldn't really afford the camp. And so we are affordable camp, but there are some parents that are challenged financially as well. And our heartbeat is to never put a strain on the parents, but to provide them affordable care.
So let me ask you, what are the spectrum of services that you offer?
So we offer full daycare services. We're open from 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. We provide services for children from ages 3 to 16. We also provide after-school care. We provide care during intersession, so that's anytime school is not in service. So spring break and our summer program was actually our biggest selling point. We had a ton of children last summer, and we offered them a variety of activities. We have therapists that come in and work with our students. We work with Sterling Learning, which is a group of therapists that come in. They provide social skills classes as well as ABA therapy for our students.
That's excellent. I am so proud of you. I am. I'm so proud of you. What an awesome story about working with what you got. Now,
Yeah.
tell us, do you have a final nugget that you want to give? A final nugget that you can share with any parent that's dealing with the surprise of having a child with special needs and how to work with what they got?
It's really important to get connected. So at an early stage, as soon as you find out the diagnosis, I know sometimes with children on the spectrum, you don't find that out until the child is in their, 3 years old, so they're older. But for a Down syndrome diagnosis or a child with cerebral palsy, when you find out, get connected, find local networks within your community, come to Reach Enrichment Center, do those type of things, find parent-to-parent connections. Georgia has a vast network called Parent to Parent, and it's where they pair you up with a parent who is going through the exact same situation that you're going through. And you draw strength from that, and you draw hope from that. Reach Enrichment Center stands for Restoring Excellence and Creating Hope. And it is our job and our mission to create hope for parents of children with exceptionality.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
having me.
And we'll be right back after this break. Hello and welcome. We are back. This is Working with What You Got, and I am your host, Renee Joshua Porter, and I am so excited. This episode has been all about me hanging out with my friends. I am so glad to have our money mogul with us tonight. We have Gil Michelle. He is the president and CEO of the Caleb Group Incorporated, and they are an accounting firm. Welcome, Gil.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, he's located, where are you located?
I'm in South Bend, Indiana.
South Bend, Indiana, and he just happened to be in New York
Mhm.
when he got my call, so he was able to come in. I am so grateful. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow. Well, I've been doing taxes all day. I'm an accountant. I've been in accounting ever since I was a kid, quite honestly. My father had an accounting firm on Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
And so me and my brothers were second generation accountants. We've been around it all our lives, been doing taxes, I think since I was 11 years old. And I'm still doing it to this day. I live out in South Bend, Indiana with my wife and my daughter and one on the way. And I'm right in the middle of tax season and have been involved with helping individuals and small businesses with financial matters for as long as I can remember.
Okay, so we're all about working with what you got.
Right.
Tell us how to work with our money. First of all, I know for myself, the older I get, I really think a lot about my FICO score.
Mhm.
How to improve it. Tell us some tips.
Well, what's funny is that the FICO score is based on 5 factors. And those 5 factors, believe it or not, are, you hear women say there's certain things they want about a guy. And so I always liken the whole FICO score factors to what women look for in men. So this may be very much of interest to a lot of the listeners today. The first thing is they want to know your payment history. Do you pay late? How dependable are you? If you want to kind of liken it from the relationship side. So the financials, the FICO score, they want to know your payment history. Do you have a history of making late payments? And if so, are most of those 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days? So that's the first thing. The second is the length of your credit history. Now, one of the things I find that people do, they have a credit card and they're attacking it. They're paying payments, they're making payments, more than the minimum. And they finally get that card paid off and they're like, you know what? I don't need this credit card anymore. I'm calling the credit card company and I'm going to go ahead and cancel. Big mistake. People like to see longevity. FICO scores are based on longevity. How long have you had a credit card? And so if you pay off a card, here's what I tell people to do is take that credit card, tuck it away in the nightstand, and leave it alone. And put it away and don't use it anymore. If you don't want to use it, don't use it. But don't go ahead and call and cancel the card because length of history is extremely important. The third thing is the amount owed. If you have available credit of, say, $15,000, is the amount you owe $14,999? If so, it looks like you have a little bit of a problem. So the amount owed is extremely important. Most creditors like to see that you owe no more than 40% of your available balance. So if you have available balances combined of $20,000, it shouldn't be any more than $8,000. The fourth thing is new credit. And many times, a person is looking for a new type of credit. Maybe they're looking for a car loan, and they'll shop. So they'll go to 4 or 5 different dealerships and finance departments, and they will inevitably apply for credit in all those places. Well, that looks bad in the credit world, but it can be easily explained, especially if it's all happening in one particular time. If you're always looking for a new credit card all the time, it signifies that there's a little bit of a problem. And the last but not least is the type of credit. So they like to see different types of credit. A well-rounded credit individual.
Okay.
You have a little mortgage, you have a car loan, you have some revolving credit, so they like to see a variety. If all your debt our revolving credit, which are credit cards, consumer credit cards, it signifies that maybe you have a little bit of a shopping fetish that you need to get controlled. So those are the major factors. And if people can get those 5 things in order, they have a really good chance of bumping up their credit score over time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me something that you see is a major problem after doing taxes all these many years. What do you think are some of the pitfalls that we fall into? I mean, of course, we always hear about, especially in America, credit card debt. Would you say that's the biggest problem?
It has been. The blessing and the curse of this whole big financial meltdown we kind of been facing over these past few years is that many people found themselves opening up their credit card statements, and if they had $6,000 limit, the next month it said, "Oh, we've cut your limit down to $4,000." And so people are going, "Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? What's going on?" But the thing is, people they've been forced really to make some changes in how they spend, and consumer debt has actually gone down in the past 4 years. It's because they've almost had to do it. Creditors have gotten extremely tight, and so debt is not as big of a problem. It seems like the biggest problem right now is for people to save. And so, in the old days, I remember talking to some of my old relatives, old Haitian relatives, my aunts and aunties, who, they didn't have extensive financial knowledge or education, but they knew to save their money. And so sometimes you talk to them, and they folks have tens of thousands of dollars in the bank. And here you have people coming out of college, great jobs, but never have established a discipline of saving money.
That's a key word.
Right.
That's a key word, the discipline of saving. That's really denying self.
Correct.
Mm.
And
That's a tough one.
It's a tough one, but it's a lost
true.
art,
It's
and
true.
no one's teaching anyone to do that anymore. So
How do you do that with children? How would you suggest? Because that's really where it starts.
Yeah.
Teaching children the importance of saving, especially, okay, I want these, I have 2 boys. I want these sneakers. They're $130. I want this. I want that. I want.
Right.
How do you start teaching them saving is essential?
Good question. I say this, it's about discipline, but also setting up guards for yourself. For example, I just addressed a group of teenagers, high school teenagers, and we talked about money. And I said to them, whatever you earn, I don't care if it's $100 a week from your part-time job, $20 of that $100 should not even be touched. Off the top, I like to say, pay yourself first.
My grandfather used to use that term.
Pay yourself
Pay
first.
yourself.
It means you're going to save 10% of what you bring in, no matter what. And you only learn to live on the 80%. So the 10, I say you give, whether it's your church, whether it's an organization, but give 10, pay yourself 10, and live off of the 80. So when you get paid $100, in your mind, you already know, I got paid $80 this week because 10% is going to go to save and 10% I'm going to give away and distribute. The other 80%, I already know is what I'm living on. So even if you want to buy a brand new pair of sneakers and it costs $150, I know this week all I have is $80 to spend for that because the other 10 and 10 are already accounted for. And so that's what I tell teenagers or kids is put away the 20% and don't even consider
Excellent.
it.
Did you hear that, Julian? I hope my son Julian's watching. That's a wonderful nugget.
Yeah.
I'm going to have you come back on.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
We're going to Skype you in from South Bend, Indiana.
You got it.
Because you are a wealth of resource and you need at least 30, 40 minutes to keep deprogramming us because it really is about unknotting the way that we think. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
We heard a lot today. We heard awesome testimony from Shauna Williams Harvey, and she was telling us about how she was able to develop Reach Enrichment Center through the birth of her son, John, and his special needs. We were able to be blessed and hear just different crucial nuggets about discipline and the power of discipline in our finances by Gil Michelle. And before we leave, I was just thinking of how I want to share a story, and it's real brief. And Shauna was talking about family. Gil mentioned his dad and the legacy that was actually passed on to him with wisdom when it came to money. And I thought about how about almost 20 years ago, maybe between 18 and 20 years ago, I remember I was living in a house in Deer Park, and my daughter was in her bedroom, and her bedroom was the bedroom I had as a child because I had bought the house from my parents. And I just finished reading my daughter a wonderful bedtime story. And after I read her that bedtime story, I was praying with her. And after I prayed with her, I was just so happy, and I kissed her goodnight. And here she was, about 4 years old. And I walked out of the room and I was smiling. And I kind of felt good about myself. I said, you know what? I have her praying. She's smart. She's bright. She's sleeping in my bedroom. I bought this house. I'm young. I'm married. I felt so good about myself. And I walked down the hall of that High Ranch house and I said, thank you, God. And you know what I heard? Within myself, I heard the Lord say to me, don't thank me, thank your mother. And you know what I realized? So many times, because we may have people in our life, whether it's a parent or an auntie or a grandma, they may not be as articulate. They may not be as savvy. They may not be as charismatic. They may not have the finesse or the education. And we have all these things. And so we get real full of ourselves and we feel real cocky. And we forget that if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be who we are. So it's real important as we begin to unknot our mind to look for the treasure in everyone around us, especially for those that came before us. So I wanted to say thank you to my mom. I love my mom and my dad. I just wanted to share that with you. Please join us next week. Free your mind, and the rest will follow.
You know the nighttime